Awesome.
Who are you?
Who are you? Can you
No, you're going to introduce yourself.
tell us who you
No,
are?
actually, I'm saying you introduce yourself.
Oh, I am. I just want to get everyone on. Awesome. Cool. Everyone, thanks so much for joining us today. I'm Ashley Bledsoe, Marketing Director at Side. Today, we have the fantastic leader of Amalfi Estates, Anthony Marguleas. And I would love for you to introduce yourself, Anthony, and tell me that I pronounced that right.
Ashley, that was amazing. I mean, I'm telling you, you must have practiced on that because I have a hard last name. I'd say 90% of people, Guy still gets my name a little messed up. So that was great. No, I'm really honored to be on this, and I can share a couple ideas that will help the listeners. That's very exciting. So hopefully you guys will get some good content out of this first Masterclass series.
Awesome. So for everyone that's on, I just want to share one, there will be an email that goes out after this today, with the on-demand content. So everything from our class today, also any kind of materials that we cover that we deemed would be of interest to you, that will be following up, and we'll include this deck as well. So know that you don't have to furiously be scribbling down notes. We're going to be sharing it with you. And then also, if you have questions, ultimately, because we do want this to have a level of interactivity in the chat, the Q&A, please feel free to type in there, and not the Zoom webinar chat, but the Q&A function on Zoom, because that's where we're going to be referencing the various questions. We'll probably hold a lot of them to the end unless one is super timely with what we're talking about. But again, we want you to feel free to be able to ask and get the expertise that Anthony's been so kind to share with us today. So to start, Anthony, I would love just to level set for the audience who exactly you are, and just share a little bit about who you are, how long you've been in real estate, the market area you focus on, and then a little bit about your team structure.
Sure. I'm brand new in the business.
Well, I'm really glad we had
hair when I started. So I've been in the business. I always nervously tell people how long you've been in the business, because you think you're like really old and maybe not up to speed on what's going on. I've been in the business 27 years. I've had my company, Amalfi Estates. We're based in Los Angeles, primarily the west side of Los Angeles. We have a fantastic team. We have 6 sales partners and 3 support staff. And we have 3 additional sales partners that are going to be starting in January on our team. We do approximately, this year we're on track for 70 transactions plus 30 leases as well. So about 100 total this year. With our 6 sales partners, we're on track for 200 million in sales. And we have a great team. And it's really due to the caliber of the people that we have on our team. So, and Side's been a huge help in getting us organized and helping with the back end systems. So we've been with Side about 1.5 years, and our business has increased 35% since we joined Side a little over 1 year ago.
Thanks so much for level setting that for us, Anthony. Obviously, when you hear a biography like that, and you're either a team lead or just an agent with your own individual book of business, it's always good to listen to the people that have done it and done it well. And that's why we're excited to have Anthony here today. And specifically to talk about the topic of 7 steps to increase lead conversion. This is something that partners, agents ask us about all the time. And we just really felt, based on some of the success that Anthony has, which he'll dive into today, he would be the perfect person to tackle this topic with as part of our masterclass. So we're going to start with the topic, the first topic, but again, know that that's going to be our focus today, is on lead conversion. So high level, the 7 topics we're going to be going over today, which are all part of the Amalfi Estates ethos. Setting trackable goals. What does that mean? Accountability, having a good CRM, daily role play, certification training, weekly rating system, and office incentives. So we're going to get into each one of these moving forward. So setting trackable goals. Can you explain a little bit to us what that means, Anthony?
Sure. So, I mean, we align with the SMART system, and it's basically a nice acronym, Ashley. So,
Hmm.
really having specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-based goals. Um, what we found is unless you have a goal in mind and then you can back into that goal, it's very much, it's more challenging to actually hit your goal.
Yeah.
So, especially with lead conversion, it's so important. A lot of times agents are focusing so much on the lead source and not as much on what happens after the lead source. So whether it's Zillow or whether Zillow Flex or Realtor.com or whether you're getting Boomtown leads, depending on where the source is, the key is really having trackable goals and really being able to measure what is the return on that investment. Okay, so if you can look at the end of the year and see the number of closings you have and actually track where each closing is coming from. That way you can align more of your expenses if one lead source is generating a lot more than another lead source. So really, really important to have specific, measurable, attainable, relevant. And we'll go into a little more detail what that means on the next couple of slides.
Yeah, I think well, one, people are raising their hands, and I think that if you want, it would definitely be incredibly helpful for us to have you log them in the chat, just because there's a lot of dense content here. Alternatively, we can have you do live hand raising at the end and put you on for questions. So I just want to call that out because we do see you raising your hands. About the idea of specific measurable goals, I think that that's an incredibly good point, and one you're going to give a concrete example for is a lot of times agents in the business, they know they want to be successful. They know they want to be top producers, and that's a very aspirational, lofty goal. And what you're saying here is put a number behind it, quantify what that means, what your aspirations are, so that you can actually track to it. And you talk a little bit about this example you have on the screen and how that feeds into that.
Yeah, so it's really important to have a business plan, and our team does vision boards as a team individually. And so what's so important is not just having a business plan and doing a vision board, but when you do it. So it's really important to do it in October. So now for all those listening, if you haven't done it yet, it's not too late. You can still do it. But ideally, a lot of agents tend to start it maybe in December or January, and it's really a little bit too late. So
Yeah.
the reason is it's all psychological. If you can start thinking about what your goal is in mind in October and actually have it written down as a written attainable goal and have 4 buckets of income, how you're going to actually attain that goal, and then have a vision board as well. Get your team together, whether it's yourself or an assistant or whether you have a couple buyers agents on your team, but really putting it down in writing is the key. So in this example, if your goal is 50 million in sales, or maybe your goal is 5 million in sales, whatever your goal may be, it's so important. Begin with the end in mind. So in our example here, Ashley,
Mm-hmm.
$50 million, if your average sale transaction is $1 million, then that's 50 transactions you need to do. Then you calculate the number of leads required. So if you want to do 50 transactions, and if you know your conversion rate is 1%, 2%, 3%, whatever it may be, you know how many leads you need in order to hit the number of transactions to reach your goal. And then the third cost analysis, 2,500 new leads, assuming whatever your lead source is, if it's $10 a lead, or if you have to pay a percentage, what is that going to cost you? So it's just important to put the numbers behind it so you can really hit your goals.
Marry the aspirational, which is your vision boarding, your business plan for yourself, with grounding it in what's quantifiable, because that's how you
Correct.
get to
Yeah.
the
And
aspiration.
and what I found on the there's a couple of trains of thought on vision boards and business plans. Some people like hitting goals that are attainable. I personally like putting a real hairy, audacious goal.
Yeah.
And then if your heart's not beating really fast when you set that goal, it's probably not the right goal. So, I was stuck doing 20 million a year for several years. And then I put a goal of 50 million. And I started getting nervous. I'm like, how am I going to do that? And the next year I hit 50. And then I set a goal, after I did 50 of 100. And then you hit the plateau there. And then you set another goal. So it's just so important to really do a stretch goal and then just back in how you're going to hit that goal.
If that motivates you, if your heart starts racing to the point that it paralyzes you.
Right. Well, if it starts, if you have to get a defibrillator and you have to call 911, then it's probably not a good sign. But if you get a little nervous, then it's probably a good sign. So
another example of thinking about SMART goals, and a really tangible one, is this conversion rates by experience level. Can you talk to us a little bit through this one, Anthony?
Sure. So this slide we actually got from a real estate trainer's site. So I want to give them, honorable mention. It had some really, really good content. So a lot of times people will do one size fits all when you get leads. And what we found is, a beginning agent, that may be, and I don't look at the number of years in the business. I talk to agents all the time, and then someone says, I've been in real estate 30 years. And then I ask how many transactions they've done, and they've done 20. And I talk to an agent who's been in real estate 2 years. And I say, how many transactions have they done? And they say 20. So the reality is, it's really the beginner based on number of transactions, same with the moderate, and same with the experience level. So if a beginning agent, the typical contacts per hour that they're successfully able to make is somewhere in the range of 1 to 5. The moderate experienced agent, probably 6 to 8 contacts per hour. And the experienced agent is probably going to get through 9 to 11, because the experienced agent knows you don't need to be on the phone that long, right? Because a beginning agent may stay on the phone for an hour or two, and you don't need to do that. You just want to develop the rapport. You want to really go after the appointment. That's really the key, okay? So one thing that some of the online, like Zillow Flex, has taught us, it's all about the appointment. And we don't want to really screen them for financing in the initial call. It's all about going for the appointment. So the next stage is contacts to appointment. A new agent, typically, it'll take 150 contacts for one appointment. A moderate one is 70 to 1. An experienced one is 25 to 1. Now, depending on the quality of the lead source, these can go up substantially higher. For example, Zillow Flex, which is being broadcast throughout the country. There's currently 95 Zillow Flex teams throughout the country. Their goal is to ramp that up quite a bit. We currently have a 72% appointment rate from Zillow Flex leads. And if you would have asked, a year ago when we did not have Zillow Flex, our appointment rate was significantly less. And then lastly, it's the appointments to listings. So once again, it really comes down to experience. And what I'm going to tie into the experience is daily role plays and our certification program. So that's going to be on some later slides. I think it's really exciting, the certification program, because I don't know of another team that does a certification program like we do. And that's what really levels up the beginner to moderate to the experienced.
I think a good question just came in that's timely related to what we're talking about. David wants to know, how do you determine or estimate a conversion rate for new agents on your team who might not have adequate sample size of lead tracking? So David is essentially saying, how do you, if you don't have the data, is there any way that you discern how good an agent's conversion rate is, or does it all go back to this concept of like, it's all about the data?
It's all about the data. So the good news in real estate, there are hundreds of lead sources out there, actually.
Yeah.
So if someone said tomorrow, I have a team of agents and I want to generate 100 leads for them this week, there's 100 websites that you can do that. So that generating the leads, whether it's, there's 100 different sources. You can do Google AdWords, and you can do Realtor.com, and you can do Zillow Flex and HomeLight, and there's just so many, Boomtown. There are so many lead sources that you can get to generate for your team. You definitely need the numbers in order, David, to really track how good they are.
I think the next sections that we go into are going to showcase how you get that data to understand those conversion rates. Yeah. So we'll be tackling those next. So
and I want to just start off with, because look, it's easy for someone to be, quote, an expert, right? You guys are tuning in and you're like, wow, I want to get these pearls of wisdom I was just like you guys were, sitting listening to this. Literally a year ago, we had one of the worst conversion rates. We didn't know what we were doing. Now you guys know what you're doing. I didn't know what I was doing. Okay, our conversion rates were low. We really just tried to do a deep dive and analyze the heck out of it so we could engineer our team and find out the best practices so our lead conversion will go up substantially. And so hopefully there's a few things that we've learned over the last year that you guys can really benefit from.
Yeah, I think yes, I think we're going to tie into that, but it does truly, one of the things historically with real estate has been that a lot of it can be really anecdotal, or you're always focused on like being more oriented towards the relationship. And this is an undercurrent that you're going to see, is constantly putting the data, quantifying behind it so that you move towards success. The next topic we're tackling is the idea of accountability. And Anthony, do you want to speak to this slide and how it embodies that sentiment to you?
Sure. If you want to read this, Ashley, because they're tired of hearing me talk. So let's hear you read this.
Okay. A personal choice to rise above one's circumstances and demonstrate the ownership necessary for achieving a desired result.
Yay. Great job.
No
Yeah.
excuses, folks.
So our coach, so we have a fantastic coach, Workman Success Systems. And what our coach taught us, and I've never seen any other coach teach it this way, accountability is love. I know it sounds corny, and I know it's like, okay, where are you going with this, Anthony? But what we found is if you really care about your agents and you really care about the people on your team, the holding them accountable, if someone says, I want to do this because my big why is I need to support my family, I need to take care of my mother, I need to save money for college, I want to retire early, whatever that big why is, and we want to help them reach that through their business plan. And if we're not going to hold them accountable for doing the things that they say they want to do to be successful, so if that's 2 hours of prospecting a day or daily role play, then do we really care about them? So when our coach said accountability is love, it resonated so deeply with me that I'm doing a disservice to my team if I'm not doing everything I can to support them and help them.
You told me that we did a prep call before, and one, you had a story about your team and the frequency of how often they were transacting before you implemented new accountability measures. One, can you share that story?
Sure. So we're in a higher priced market than most agents. And because of that, we didn't have to sell a lot of homes to be considered successful. So our average agent a year ago did three transactions. They were very expensive transactions, but the average did 3 transactions. We decided to create a culture of productivity, and that culture of productivity set a minimum number of transactions to stay on our team. And that minimum number of transactions was 1 transaction per month. And if you go throughout the country, the top teams, typically on average, you have to do a minimum of 2 transactions per month. So that's really what gave us the impetus to say, well, if they're doing 2 transactions per month, we have to do at least a minimum of 1 transaction per month. Everyone on our team, myself included, I'm like, oh, wow, that's a lot. How are we going to increase it that much? So flash forward, it's now November. Our average agent right now has done 12 transactions. We have a couple agents doing, one has done 18 transactions year to date, one has done 17, and one has done 16. I'm so proud of our team for rising to the occasion, showing what's possible. And I think with the proper systems in place, with the proper lead conversion, and with the proper support, it can definitely be done.
Well, one, it really resonated with me when you said accountability is love. And then 2, just implementing those new measures, which people at first were incredibly nervous about, but instead of it being that people shirked from that accountability, they excelled. And I think a lot of people struggle with that, team leaders especially. What does it mean to implement accountability, and how will my team respond to that? But ultimately, everyone ended up prospering. So thank you for sharing that story.
No, you're welcome.
Number 3, in terms of how to drive better lead conversion. And again, I think Anthony kind of like, he said this, but didn't say this a second ago. Lead conversion is a lagging indicator of having all the other things set up right upstream, the right accountability mechanisms, the right systems in place. And that's definitely what we are talking about, is those upstream tactics that need to be put in place so that you can downstream just see so much more lead conversion. And with that, going into systems, can we talk a little bit about CRM? I don't necessarily want to make this an infomercial for Copper, but Anthony is a big Copper user too. So can you talk about CRM at a high level and maybe a little bit about Copper specifically?
Sure. Yeah, happy to. So, I mean, there's some fantastic CRMs out there, and everyone has their own personal favorites. We transferred over when we joined Side to Copper, and
what were you on before, Anthony?
We were on Top Producer, which I know a lot of people. It's a little archaic. Hopefully, there's no one listening from Realtor.com on the phone. It's a little bit outdated, of a system. So what we found was, so the system to track results is the key. And what that means is this: your A leads, right? Those are ones who are ready to write an offer. You're showing them properties. Your A leads have to be contacted on a weekly basis. And almost every coach is going to have similar systems. So all A leads within weekly, they must be contacted either by phone, by text, by email, in person, some type of touch point. Your B leads, and which Copper calls them hot prospects. So your B leads have to be every other week. They have to be contacted. And then your C leads, which Copper calls nurture, they must be contacted at least once a month. And what we found is, with Top Producer, it literally took my assistant hours to try and go through and look at our team results on Top Producer. So when we transferred over to Copper, and I'm going to ask anyone listening, does your current CRM, and it may have it right now, does your current CRM, if you wanted to look at it right now at your entire team, can you see with a few seconds or a minute how quickly that your team have been following up with your A leads, your B leads, and C leads? And with Copper, we can do that so quickly. So then we know if an agent's too busy, maybe they have 3 deals in escrow, maybe they're dealing with a personal issue. Maybe, it's rare for an agent to come to you and say, hey, I'm just busy, I can't handle it, right? So you're spending all this money on leads, you're giving them to agents who maybe just are too busy. Maybe they have too much going on. So it's really, really important to have a system you can follow up to see if you or your agents are doing the proper follow-up.
And that idea of logging the interactions, also, maybe I'm a big nerd, but Anthony told me this way that he's been logging voice notes in Copper. Can you just share that tip so people know?
Yeah, I don't think it was that earth-shattering, but I'm happy to share
it. It isn't, but it's like sometimes you just got to put the pieces together.
Yeah. So what we do is, so I'm a high C. For those of you guys know the DISC assessment. So I love analytics and I love data. So what I always do after any meeting, any interaction with a client, I always log it into our CRM. And the way that I do that, so let's say I just met them for coffee, or let's say I just did a Zoom call with them, or something other than an email or a text that I can cut and paste into the CRM. What I do is I just open up the app on my phone, Copper app. You can do it whatever app you guys use for your CRM. And then I just dictate in there the entire, all the points. So if it's a new client, the first-time home buyer, where they live, if they have to sell another property, are they pre-approved, their kids' names, if I remember any other key points, what they're looking for in a home, what their hot buttons are they working with an agent, anything that I can come up with, that I'll remember, and I just dictate it right in there, and it's done. So you have to do it right after the call.
I think for some people, it's like the mental hurdle of typing something out can stop them from using it. And when you said you just open it up and you use the microphone feature to get all just total brain dump, I was like, oh, it literally takes 5 seconds.
I use that all the time. And the best thing about that too, with the CRM, I'll give you one example. A client will call me and they'll pop up on my phone. So I'll be like, oh, I must know them, right? So we've been very fortunate. I've helped 1,000 families buy, sell, or lease homes in my career. So a name will throw up on my phone and I don't really remember who they are, right? So as I go, hey, how are you? As I'm talking to them, I quickly look at the notes on the CRM. And because I took such detailed notes, this happened to me a couple weeks ago. I'll look at the notes on my phone and it'll say, you know, daughter just graduated Pally High. They have a dog named Fred. You know, it's important to them to be near their kids' schools and they work at this place. So I'm reading it. I haven't talked to this person in 4 years. And I'm like, oh, how's your daughter doing here? And and they sit there and they're like, you have the most amazing memory I've ever seen. And they feel important because you've remembered that.
Yeah.
Okay. And the truth is I have a horrible memory, you know, but I took the time because I care enough about the client to write down these key points. And then I remember it by looking at my CRM. And the other benefit as well, if you're out of town or your assistant needs to follow up, or we need to follow up for one of our other agents who's not available, we can quickly go to the CRM. We can look at all the notes on that transaction and be up to speed. So if someone says, I really prefer texting, and you can look at the notes and know that. So it's really important to keep good notes.
We will
and for liability reasons too. I didn't have a chance to say that, but I know if you're listening, you're going to like to hear this. Spencer, you too. So yeah, for liability reasons, if you have a paper trail and you document everything, knock on wood, in 27 years, we've not been sued. And I think it's because we paper trail everything and you document everything. I don't care how silly it is, but you want to have a paper trail of everything. If you told your client, you know, look, I really recommend you get a home inspection. If you're doing it against my advice, paper trail it and put that in the CRM.
So we have 4 other items to get through, including finishing CRM.
Okay, move me along.
Just quickly, Susanna, yes, you can dictate through the phone. It's just using the core microphone app in the phone, but having it open in your Copper CRM. So when you're dictating, it dictates right into the notes field. Everyone else will answer your questions as part of the last 15 because they're a little bit meatier to get into. So hire an inside sales associate. How does that tie into your CRM?
Yeah, so this is probably the hardest position to fill that I've found over the years. So inside sales associate is basically someone who can take your nurture leads, your C leads, maybe even your dead leads, maybe leads that you can't reach. And they're going to basically go through and scrub them so they can give them to an agent. So we hired a fantastic inside sales associate. She is Andrea. She's amazing. And it's really, really challenging position to fill. You need someone ideally who knows your local market, who is not only knows your local market, but ideally is in your time zone. I know a lot of times people hire virtual assistants in other countries. I've tried that. I know it works for some people. I just personally prefer someone who knows your local market. Ideally, if they're a real estate agent, they're good on the phone, they're personable. And then the second key is the compensation for them. I know a lot of people do it where they get a percentage on the back end. I really prefer doing it a combination where they get a small salary, then they get $100 for every appointment, or depending on your market, it could be $50 per appointment, and then they get a percentage. And the reason that's so important is because you want to get gratification immediately. Sometimes sales won't close for 6 months. So really, really important, and also listen to their scripting and make sure that they're a good representation of your company. But I can go into more detail about inside sales associates, but it's a key component of increasing your lead conversion.
And a good source for looking for those ISAs?
Wise Hire. I love Wise Hire. I have no stock in that company, but I think they're probably the greatest company out there for real estate agents. They have DISC assessments that overlay the ideal candidate for an inside sales associate, for an assistant, and for a regular sales agent. So that's what we recommend using, Wise Hire.
So this is going to be something that probably makes people a little nervous, but know when an agent should be paused. So you're using the CRM, you're seeing people's productivity, you see certain folks are not making their calls, not setting appointments. How do you negotiate that?
Yeah, so we have everything's numbers based, so it's not subjective, it's all objective. So they all know we have a grading system. And if someone is below 8 points a week, my assistant tallies it up. They go to see our CRM Copper, and they can check how many points people have. They get points for how frequently they're following with their A leads, their B leads, or their C leads. And if someone is below 8 points, it just means not that they're bad people. It just means that they happen to be too busy that week to follow up with leads. So we will pause their ability for getting new leads. And then once that their points are higher, we will unpause them. It's very, very rare an agent will say, oh, pause me, because agents want to get as many leads as they can. It's almost like, a free buffet in Vegas, right? You're like, oh my God, I'm going to take one of everything. And it's very hard to say no. So
one interesting thing that you told me,
them.
one interesting thing you told me, Anthony, is you actually said when you introduce this concept, you actually do sometimes have agents who say, hey, can I be paused? Like even introducing it has.
Some agents are for self-aware. If either they know they're going to be out of town or they just have too much on their plate. They said, look, please pause me. I just have too much. Because the reality is this: we're doing this as customer service to have the best possible experience for the client. Is it in the client's best experience if someone's too busy to call them back? If they have too many clients on their plate? No. So really what we want to do is what is in the client's best interest. And once they realize that, it's good to pause. So.
Daily role play. Can you talk to us a little bit about daily role play, how that fits into your business?
Yeah. So, one would think, well, why do you need to do daily role play? You've done this for 30 years, Anthony, and you seem to be good at what you do. And the reality is Tiger Woods has a coach and Michael Jordan had a coach. And I don't care who you are at whatever level you are in your business, we're learning every single day. Okay. Yeah. If I don't learn at least 5 things a day, I'm doing something wrong. So I'm learning from our brand new agents. So every single day you should be learning and improving. And always wanted to, listen to books on self-improvement. So daily role play is so important. And our daily role plays are very structured and they're on different topics. So it may be on lead conversion. It may be on a topic of, why should I buy now? It's a seller's market. Or it may be on Home Light, a company we just partnered with on the benefits of Home Light. So whatever that system is, it's a daily role play for the topic. And then that ties into our certification program.
I think it's really interesting. You all, especially if you've been in the business a while, you've all lived through such, pretty significant shifts in how real estate works, from probably being the ones that would give people access to the MLS information and things like that, to now with COVID being all online. And so just having that ability to sharpen your responses, sharpen the way that you handle certain objections, since the objections are always shifting. That's what the role play ties into. But yes, like Anthony says, on our prep call the other day, he just said, hey, Ashley, got to hop off. We have a role play with Home Light. So he's definitely living by the advice that he's giving y'all here today.
And daily role play too. Like if someone asked each one of you on this call, what separates you from the other 1.7 million agents out there in the world, right? Can you say it right now in 2 minutes? You're in the elevator, right? You're sitting next to the top business manager in your town, or the top divorce attorney, or whoever your best lead source is. And you have 2 minutes to tell why you are different, what specializes you, what your unique selling propositions are. Can you do it? That's the question. And can every member of your team say the exact same thing? Because it's got to be consistent. We have a fantastic director of sales and operations. We are so lucky. His name is Luke. And what he always says is, you go to a Ritz-Carlton Dubai or you go to Ritz-Carlton in Taiwan, it's the exact same service. So your company has to offer the exact same information, whether it's at an open house, whether it's a buyer appointment, whether you're showing a property. It's got to be the exact same way every single time. If you don't practice that daily role play, you're not going to do it.
Certification programs.
This is my baby. I love this. Because I'm a high C. I love certification programs.
Can you talk a little bit about the inspiration for it, and then post that inspiration, what you've started to create with Amalfi Estates with their different certification programs?
Sure. Yeah. So what I did is, so Zillow Flex, which a lot of you know is a new program out that's been around about a year. They have a Flex certified program. What that means is they grade each call, basically. So they grade you on, did you ask for the appointment? Did they grade you on, did they ask for about location, and did they ask for motivation? And did they ask for a customer service survey? Those are the four main things. And if you get a certain number of points, they consider that you've passed the certification. So we've tweaked the Zillow Flex program a little bit. I think we've improved on it a little bit on our grading system. And, for example, someone calls from Zillow Flex, never say, hey, how are you? And it sounds really basic. You don't want to be going off on that tangent. The first question has to be, I understand that you're calling on this specific house. When would you like to, are you available to see it tomorrow afternoon or tomorrow morning? That kind of thing. Go for the appointment. So what we found was, and this is really fascinating, there were 15 teams in LA when we started Zillow Flex. We were admirably number 14 out of 15. So I'd give us an F plus. Okay. We were 14 out of 15 teams. Our CSAT score, for those of you who don't know, that's customer service that Zillow Flex uses. And they start everyone at 87. Okay, that's your bare minimum, 87. And in the 4 weeks after we started the program, we were in 84. So for those who are really good at math, we dropped. Okay, so we were last in customer service. We were last in lead conversion. Now, knock on wood, we are number one in customer service out of 95 teams in the country. We're at a 95.
So not number one, just in LA.
No, in the country.
In the
country. Yeah, and we're in the top, and we're in the top 10% for lead conversion. So yeah. I think a lot of it's due to the certification. So what we realized was we weren't asking for the customer service survey correctly. We hadn't role played it. So we did a grading system, and what we said is you're not allowed to take Zillow Flex leads unless you pass 10 or higher on the Zillow Flex certification. And like I said, it's a point system. We listen to each call. Luke, our director of sales and operations, listened to every call. Once our team members gets at least a minimum of 4 calls, 10 or higher, then they're allowed to stay taking flex calls. That's the first step of our certification program. And we have 6 of them. So
an example would be, inspired by this certification program, and also real estate agents kind of love a certification program. You were inspired to extend that to things like the open house. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Correct. Yeah. So, open houses have been canceled for 6-7 months, but we still set up a certification program for it. What I realized was every one of our open houses was being done differently. Like, were the lights on in this room? Did they greet people? Did they have the same systems in place the Amalfi way at every single open house? And I realized they didn't, and it wasn't their fault. It was my fault because I didn't teach what I've learned over 30 years of the best components to convert buyers at an open house, or how properly to show a house. That's another thing. If for example, if you have a 2-story house and there's a basement, a lot of agents will go down to the basement first, which you're typically not supposed to do, because then you have to, if they want to, then you're going up 2 flights of stairs and the person gets tired. So there's just a lot of, like, I call them pro tips that I put together for a certification program. How to write offers is one of our certification programs. How to the first buyer appointment, listing certification, and then the CRM certification. So these are certification programs, because what I realized as well, and Zillow Flex taught us this, Ashley, you can have a great agent. And because Zillow's so good at the data, so they can see if someone gets 100 leads, how many of those leads turn into writing offers, and how many of those offers, or how many of those leads turn into showing a house, how many of those showing a house leads turn into writing offers, how many of those offers turn into accepted offers. So with our certification program, we can see where the weak link is in the system. So if we have someone who's showing 100 homes, but only writing 1 offer, there's a problem. If we see someone that is writing a ton of offers, but only getting a small percentage accepted, we know that's the problem. So we can actually break down in our system process of where we need to really drill deep on the role play with that individual agent.
Yeah, I think, yeah, so having these structured certification programs, if it starts to be that they're great at getting somebody on the phone and committing to an appointment, but then they keep seeing consistently that that first appointment doesn't ever move forward, that's then where kind of backtracking, the role play starts to happen, and they then go through as a team and figure out how can we ramp this person up to be more effective at that showing. Um,
Correct.
so
So our lead conversion, just for example, we started off, and I think we're probably like at 0.5% the last probably 10 years. It was really bad. Okay. And then once we put in the certification program, and once we started putting in some actual systems and tracking it, and I know everyone's like, well, I have a 5% conversion and I have a 10% conversion. You know, it depends really if we're looking at apples and apples, right? Because some people, well, I don't count leads if there's not a phone number, or I don't count a lead here. But historically, you look at the whole country, you know, having the average agent team typically has about 1.5% lead conversion, and good is considered like 3% or 4%. And that's for all leads coming into your funnel. Now, there's going to be, you know, whoever's listening to this going, hey, I don't agree with you, Anthony. It's this, that. But as a general rule, that's kind of the goal there. How are we doing on time?
We have 2 more sections to go through, and then
okay.
we have a few questions. So
Okay.
let's talk through weekly rating system.
Yeah, so this is great. So this is what my assistant goes through. I mentioned it briefly before. So they check the leads. If a new lead comes in, we require them to try and reach out to them a minimum of 15 times before you can move them to a like a not unqualified status, but, you know, not able to reach kind of status. So, so the goal is, so you can text them and leave a voice message and email them in one day. That's three touches. What happens a lot of times with new leads is people call them twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, and then they just move them into their nurture, or they move them into, you know, dead leads or something like that.
That was
you have to reach out at least 15 times.
1-5, everyone. So not
that's
2.
A 1-5. Yeah.
Not 3.
A 1-5.
1-5.
Oh yeah, 1-5. You have to do 1-5.
So next time,
you have to.
Y'all tell your business manager or me that all leads are bad. I'm going to ask you, did you reach out 15
No, you have
times?
to do it. You have to do it at least 15 times. And then, like I said, every week, and we'll share with everyone on this call a copy of our weekly follow-up system that my assistant Max does weekly basis, and we send it through Slack. We bring it up at our Monday meeting, and we can see if anyone's below an 8. Hey guys, we're gonna have to pause you because you were below on your new leads, you were below on your A leads, you're below on your B leads, or whatever they happen to be below on. So once again, why are we doing this? Accountability.
So yeah,
why are we doing accountability? Because we love them.
Because we love them.
That's why we're doing it.
And that is, I believe, like
that's why we're doing it. Like I have better things to do than to. I'm not here to micromanage people. These are all adults.
It's a person vision boards that they have these grand aspirations for themselves.
Exactly right.
You want to help keep them to those grand aspirations, because the day-to-day minutia can take you away.
So we will share that document at the end of the call. You'll send an email out, and we'll share with you. But you have to have a CRM that can track it. Yeah. That's the key. If you don't have a CRM that'll track how frequently. So with Copper, there's a column and it says last contacted, and I can just click last contacted, and I can sort it up to the A leads, B leads, and C leads, and I can quickly see what % they followed up. It literally, it saved me hours and hours of work.
And also, again, just kind of double clicking on what Anthony said, we'll be sharing out his master spreadsheet that he uses that he throws up on a weekly basis for all of his agents to see, to understand that accountability. And then last one before we get into question, office incentives. Why are office incentives important, and does it always have to be a trip to Cabo?
It always has to be a trip to Cabo. No, it doesn't always have to be a trip to Cabo. No, office incentives, first of all, we're here to have fun. So that's really the key. I mean, the people that you work with, you have core values, and it's like our team is our family, and it really truly is. And you have to have fun, you know, to be able to deal with the daily stresses that you deal with on a regular basis. So for incentives, we've gone back and forth, and I know different agents and different team leaders have various philosophies on this, but I'm not a big fan of competing agent against agent. Okay. I think truly you're competing against yourself. That's really what it is. So if you have incentives in your office, I'm a big believer in not pitting one agent against another agent. I'm a big believer in saying, look, if like we did something where we said about a month ago, if any agent can get 7 additional transactions in escrow, we will give a $5,000 bonus. It's not going to the first one to get to it. It's going to anybody that gets to it. So then several people can win that award. Second thing we do is team goals. So if the entire team, like our goal this year is 200 million. If the entire team hits 200 million, I'm going to take the entire team on a trip. I'm not taking the number one agent. I'm taking everybody. And little things that we've done.
Other things like nice dinners out together.
Yeah, so we did. So there's an ice cream. Yeah. There's a McConnell's ice cream right across from my office. And so we had a little fun goal of face-to-face meetings pre-COVID. And now they're really just like Zoom calls and how many contacts you can have with clients during a week with different clients. And then we would have, if our team hit a certain number of them, we would take the team to ice cream at McConnell's across the street. So they're just fun things to do.
Ultimately, it's about all those weekly showing people how they're performing and wanting to create accountability. It's also about having an undercurrent of ensuring people feel appreciated, because the more people feel appreciated, the more motivated they are.
Yeah, appreciation is really, really key. We at our weekly meeting, we have an appreciation time where people can just thank anyone on the team, and it's really, really been helpful. Just because the three qualities you look for in an agent, and the number one quality is humility. So humility, and the second one is coachability. So we don't care how good an agent is if they don't have humility, and that ties in with appreciation that we do.
So we have some questions here. I'm going to leave the 7 steps up for everyone to look at while we get into some of these questions. So Katie Mel, hi Katie. She wants to know, how do you balance the Zillow dashboard with Copper? I feel like when I'm managing Copper, I'm worried that Zillow will ding me for not being in my Zillow dashboard, and I don't want to duplicate efforts.
Yeah, well, I have a very easy answer for you. There's no answer. You have to duplicate efforts. So someone will probably create a software that will able to import, once you put into one CRM, into the other CRM. But right now, many of the main lead sites, such as Referral Exchange, HomeLight, Zillow, require weekly updates on their program. And so what we found is as much as a pain in the neck it is, you like I like putting the full detailed notes in the CRM, and then when you go to Zillow, it's just a matter of much more brevity, because all you want to do is show Zillow or show HomeLight that you've weekly been in communication with them. It does not have to be verbatim, word for word of what happened. It just has to be a check, a touch point. So I wish there was an easier answer, but unfortunately there's not. And then one thing about I just want to delve into, long answer to a short question. We were using HomeLight, we were using Zillow Flex. The lead quality was so-so. We weren't getting a lot of great leads. Once we dove in 100%, the lead quality has gone up substantially. So you get as much as you give. Whatever the lead source is going to be, whether it's Boomtown or Realtor.com or Zillow Flex, when I say dive in 110%, get your rep on the phone, find out what you can do to increase your profile, what you can do to really increase every single thing so you get more leads. Call your rep on a regular basis and say, what can I do to get better leads? What can I do to help you? And it's returned a huge investment for us. So get involved with your lead source.
Deanna wants to know, what percentage do you pay your ISA?
I have to double check that, actually. So it's a base salary. I believe there's a base salary, and then it's $100 per appointment set. And it's not, the appointment has to be actually met. So if you make an appointment and the agent doesn't have a chance to meet with that person, then our ISA doesn't get paid. So it's really, there's a lot of accountability there. So, and then I believe want to say it's 1%, but of the when it closes, but I have to double check that. So Anna, just call me and let me know after the call, and I can let you know for sure.
Luke Houghton, he said 3% of the company side.
I'm sorry?
Luke commented. He said,
"Oh, Luke. Oh, there we go. Okay.
3% of the company. That's a good director of ops for y'all."
Luke's our director. Luke, I can tell you, if anyone here, no one here try and steal Luke because he's amazing.
So 3% of the company side.
Okay, there we go. There we go.
So Rama missed the dictate function answer. So I want to be clear.
Yeah.
This was not a copper function. This is a very clever hack Anthony came up with because no one likes typing out all their notes. He opens up the Copper app, and just as you would be able to with any iPhone app, he clicks the little microphone in the side and he just goes to town giving all of his notes and doing essentially a brain dump. And then it's all there text-based for him to reference later. So for y'all
and I want to be clear. Are there typos? Yes. Is there some grammar problems? Yes. But these are your internal notes. So, and what I found is if you had to type that, you probably would take 10 or 15 minutes. You'd probably not do it till a day or two later. And then you probably forget exactly what you were thinking. So I'm a big dictation fan.
So this is
Grammarly. Grammarly's good too. A little pitch for Grammarly. So Grammarly's a great app. So anytime you type an email or you dictate, it'll spell check and also fix your grammar.
So Ashley Novak wants to know, and this also ties into a question from Mark Daya. Are these certifications that you created, or can agents outside of your team do the certification program as well?
I created them all.
So can you provide the information?
I created them all. So like each certification is somewhere between 4,000 and 6,000 words that I created. And my team, Luke, the director of sales and ops, and our marketing coordinator, Brittany, who are absolutely amazing, look at me like I'm crazy. So they're putting it in a nice little one-page outline, and then the grading system. But I have all the notes to back up and the pro tips. But those are things that I've created. Eventually, I'll probably set up and somehow share it with Side and everyone, because I don't think anyone ever teaches you how to show a house. I don't think anyone teaches you like how to write a proper offer. And it's the packaging of the offer that's so important. I can tell you, when I get an offer from another agent outside of my office and there's 20 attachments and the bank statement's sideways, and I mean, it's like drives me nuts. So these are all the things I've learned over 27 years of how to write and how to package the best offer.
So the answer to everyone's questions about, is it shareable? It's coming one day in a shareable format, and Anthony is very gracious about sharing. So as soon as it's ready for the public, we will share.
I'm happy to share it.
Becky Liebens wants to know, this probably ties back to the doc we're going to share. What are you using to measure lead conversions, production, an app, a spreadsheet?
Repeat that. What am I using?
What are you using to measure leads, conversions of leads, agent production, an app, a spreadsheet? I want to give a quick shout out to the business growth dashboard in the app, where you can see production that's both pipeline and also closed deals. But Anthony can give a little bit more insight.
Yeah, so I mean, a lot of programs have it. Our coach set up a Google spreadsheet, so we have the percentage of every lead that came in, and the source of the lead based on transaction closings and based on dollar volumes, because you don't want to have this one huge lead and that makes up a larger percentage than it should. I'm much bigger fan of the transaction percentage than I am on the dollar percentage of closings. So it's a Google spreadsheet, and like I said, Side has something similar, and a lot of people. So every lead, you should know how many are coming from open houses, how many coming from past clients, how many coming from Sphere of Influence, how many are coming from Zillow, from Boomtown, from your print ads, etc. So then you know where you can put your marketing dollars. Really, really important. Did that answer the question?
Yes, that does answer the question.
And I'm happy to share what ours looks like after the call. I can do an attachment, and happy to share that. And if anyone wants to call me or email me, I'm happy to give out my email and my cell phone. I'm very accessible. So
he really is. We're very lucky. Anthony is part of the Side community and so willing to share. A couple more. The ISA company mentioned was Wize, WIZE, Hire, HIRE. So Wise Hire. And that's where you can look for the hiring of the ISA. And then I'm just seeing if there's any couple more minutes. Any other questions? Anthony is my favorite. Very thankful for him. Thank you, Katie Mo. That's very
flattery will get you everywhere, Ashley.
So many Anthony fans in this community. Lisa Norman, so many great tips, Anthony. Would love to hear a part 2 on your processes around how you stay in front of your clients post-close referral. Oh, Rama, I am sorry. Yes, we do need to do a part 2 if Anthony's willing. Do you have any scripts you can share? Rama wants to know.
Yeah, happy to.
Okay, we'll send that out as part of the follow-up.
Okay.
Awesome, folks.
Yeah.
Do you coach? Anthony Navarro wants to know, do you coach any agents?
I coach my team. No, my coach, I mean, like I said, Workman Success Systems has been amazing and they have great scripts. But there's so many there's a lot of great coaches out there. Coaching
team is called Workman. If you want, please reach out to your business manager. There are other side partners that are part of their coaching network. I think that could be a really great resource for you. So definitely reach out. Steve Wang, do you use a virtual assistant in any part of your lead conversion process?
We don't. We have in the past, but I found having an ISA who was local really made the difference. Mainly because of time zones and having the familiarity with our marketplace. So a good ISA should set between 2 and 3 appointments a week. Our ISA, knock on wood, Andrea, if you're listening, she's at 6 or 7 appointments per week. So no one steal her either, because she's amazing. So so a good ISA is about 2 to 3 appointments per week, so there you
go. You said that during our prep call, you said that for you, the talent is the biggest part of this equation. So it's been really great to hear some of the things you've had to say about your team.
Yeah. So what I found is, I mean, look, all these things are great. All these ideas are great. But if you don't have agents that have the goals and have the heart and have the drive and have the coachability and have the hunger, then none of this is going to work. So we've been really strict with our hiring. We have a 7-step interview process. I mean, it's intense. We call ourselves the Goldman Sachs of real estate teams. It's a lot of different levels, but we want to make sure it's slow to hire and quick to fire. So it's the people that are going to be part of your culture, and you have to make sure that they're going to buy into it. So that is the hardest part, is finding good people that to join your team. That's by far the hardest.
And with that, Anthony, it's just been such a joy to work with you this past 1.5 years at Side. And thank you so much for presenting your insights today. We're so grateful to have you be part of the community, and just super grateful for that. I want to give a housekeeping note that we will be sharing this presentation recording afterwards, including this deck and a couple other things. Rama heard you on the scripts, and also an example of his accountability spreadsheet. And then lastly, the next masterclass will be with Serena Loudon on REOs on December 8th. So thank you, and tune in then. I really appreciate you all, and please follow up with any questions offline. Happy to answer as well. All right.
Thank you, Ashley.
Thank you, Anthony.
Bye.